I also want to challenge you to go one step beyond just talking about your work. And I want you to show your audience how you leveraged your knowledge, your years of experience, your smarts, your resourcefulness, your expertise in order to bring that work to life. I know that this can feel scary and it can feel like bragging, but selling yourself and what you are able to do in the organization is how you position yourself as a standout candidate for an executive position.
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is all about helping you move into an executive role. This gets me very excited because the mission of my work as a coach and a podcaster is to help more women in corporate rise into leadership positions. And I wanted to do this episode because I had a huge realization that moving into executive roles is something that I do a ton of work on when I'm with my one-on-one clients, and I haven't done a podcast episode on this topic in ages. If you are someone who has your eyes on an executive position right now, or who imagines moving into an executive position at some point in the future, these pivots will help you understand what is required to get there. And I specifically use the term pivot because moving into executive leadership is a classic case of what got you here won't get you there. Often, the traits that helped you succeed as an individual contributor and a middle manager are traits that you have to let go of in order to advance into executive leadership. No one ever really taps you on the shoulder to tell you these things. So hopefully I can be that person tapping you on the shoulder and giving you that guidance. With that, let's start with pivot number 1 of 4. I want you to pivot from focusing on execution to focusing on leverage. When I use the word execution, what I mean is getting things done. To succeed as an individual contributor and as a middle manager, you have to be good at getting things done. So you probably show up in your job thinking, what do I need to get done? Now, it often surprises people to learn that too much focus on execution and getting things done can actually slow your path to executive leadership. Here's an analogy to help you understand this dynamic. I want you to imagine that Bob owns an art gallery and he works with 10 different artists and they all create paintings for the gallery. Now, I want you to imagine that Barbara is the best artist. She creates the most beautiful paintings for Bob's gallery, and her paintings always sell the fastest. When Bob is thinking of retiring as gallery owner, and he's thinking, which artist do I want to promote to run the gallery? He wouldn't ever want to hire Barbara to run the gallery because she's so good at making paintings. So he wants to keep her focused on that. The same dynamic can happen in a corporate setting where you become so good at execution that your company wants to keep you in an execution-heavy role. And executive roles are not as execution-heavy. This is why, if you want to move into an executive role, you have to pivot from prioritizing execution to prioritizing leverage. Leverage means instead of thinking, how can I get a lot done? You're thinking, how can I lead others around me in order to get a lot done? This is how you, as an executive leader, produce way more impact than you could possibly produce if you were just trying to execute on your own. Now, there are 3 ways that you create leverage as an executive leader. Number 1 is managing up. This is where you get really good at optimizing the workload that you are getting from the leaders above you. This ensures that your team's time and energy is being used on the highest impact, highest ROI activities. The second way is managing down. So this is where you manage your team. You get them feeling inspired and excited about the work they're doing. You get really good at delegation. And all of this results in your team being able to produce a lot of output in a super sustainable way. The final way that you do this is managing horizontally. This is where you influence peers and cross-functional stakeholders so that you can get the buy-in that you need from them to execute complex initiatives more smoothly. There's a big theme across all 3 of these buckets, which is when you have a solid, influential relationship with these various groups of stakeholders, you are able to get more done through your partnership with them. This is an essential trait that you have to demonstrate to show people that you're ready for executive leadership, because this is one of the things that you're expected to do in the executive leadership role. Now I'm going to pivot to pivot number 2. This is a very interesting one. The second pivot that will help you land an executive role is to possess a healthy amount of fight. Now, you might be having a negative reaction to the word fight, and you might be thinking, fight? Jess, that doesn't sound like something that I want to do or something like I should do. But I promise you this is very important, so stay with me. The best way for me to teach you what I mean by fight is through an analogy. So I want you to imagine that your kid is sick and they have to be taken to the doctor and you are not able to take them. You have to hire a nanny to take your kid to the doctor. Which nanny do you want to hire for that task? You can either hire Clara. Clara is someone who always says yes, who is always agreeable. She's kind of a people pleaser. Or Deborah. Deborah is assertive and she pushes back if she needs something, and she will ask tough questions if something isn't quite feeling right. Now, for most people, they're going to lean towards Deborah because they want someone who will get in there and fight for what's important. And just like you want your nanny to fight for what your child needs, similarly, organizations want executives who will fight for the needs of the business. They don't want leaders who are super agreeable about everything. They want leaders who are protectors of the business. This is what I mean when I say you want to possess a healthy amount of fight. You want to show your organization that you are not afraid to push for what matters most. Now, something that's really important is when I use the word fight, I don't mean fight in an adversarial, conflict-ridden type of way. I mean fight for the business. There's a huge energetic difference between fighting against someone and battling against someone versus fighting for what's important to you. And when I say fight, I mean fight for what is important. Now, you might be thinking, how am I supposed to fight, but also demonstrate respect for my boss, respect for senior level stakeholders? And what I want to offer you is that you show them respect by fighting for what will get them the best outcome. The number one way you can show those stakeholders that you respect them is to show them that you will show up and fight to get them the best possible result. When you have that attitude, they will see you as an asset to the organization and they will not feel disrespected by you. And this is what helps them see you as being ready for executive leadership, because they know when push comes to shove, you will not be pushed around. You will be the one pushing for what is best for the business. Now, I have two more important pivots to talk about in today's episode. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'll round out with the final two pivots. One of the best ways to accelerate your path to executive leadership is through the way you speak. That is why I created a free worksheet called 5 Phrases to Help You Sound Like a Leader. This quick and easy worksheet is designed to sit on your desk as a reference guide. It walks you through 5 simple phrases that will instantly elevate your executive presence in the room. For each phrase, I show you practical examples and I share mindset tips so that you feel confident enough to use your voice boldly, even when high-up leaders are in the room. To grab your free worksheet, click the link in the show notes or go to jessguzikcoaching.com/phrases. And now back to the episode. Okay, pivot number 3 is to master the art of storytelling. I want you to pivot from doing great work to telling great stories, AKA knowing how to talk about your work in a way that is persuasive, compelling, and emotionally engaging to an executive audience. This is one of the core skills that I teach inside of my program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy, because it is essential to position you as capable of an executive position. Now, the best way for me to teach you what storytelling means is through an analogy about online shopping. So I want you to imagine that you are shopping for a t-shirt online. If you are anything like me, when you're surfing the web, if you see a photo of a t-shirt and the photo is poorly lit and the t-shirt looks wrinkled in the photo and the photo is low resolution, you are not going to order that t-shirt. Now, what's interesting though, is that when I'm shopping in an actual store, the store could be poorly lit and the t-shirts could be wrinkled and crumpled and messy and disorganized. But if I like the t-shirt, I will still buy it from the store. So my standards for how the t-shirt needs to be presented are much lower if I'm shopping in a store. Whereas when I'm online shopping, the presentation of the t-shirt needs to be pristine and perfect. The work that you do in corporate is the t-shirt, and your audience are online shoppers. When your audience is hearing about your work, they don't get to see the actual work. They only get to see how you talk about it and how you present it. Which means that for them to trust that your work is high quality, it needs to be presented and packaged in a very compelling way. It's the same principle as the online shopping. The farther away we are from the thing that we're buying, the more persuasively it has to be packaged in order for us to trust it. This is why storytelling matters so much. Storytelling is how you prove to your audience that your work is good when they are unable to be involved in the depths of the actual work. And a beautiful way to challenge yourself is to say, I want these stories about my work to be better than my actual work. Now, to help you do this, there are 2 types of stories that you want to use when talking about your work. I teach both of these in depth inside of the Art of Speaking Up Academy. The first type of story that you want to be telling are what I call impact stories. Impact stories are stories about how your work is driving results for the business and for your executive stakeholders. I want you to challenge yourself to go one step beyond just talking about your work. And I want you to show your audience how that work is getting the organization closer to the goals that matter most. The second type of story you want to tell to showcase your work are what I call authority stories. Authority stories are stories about the skills and expertise that you and your team leveraged in order to bring your work to life. When you tell stories about you and your team's expertise, it positions you as highly credible and irreplaceable within the organization. It causes people to look at you in a more favorable light because they see the depths of the expertise and leadership that you are bringing into your execution. So I also want to challenge you to go one step beyond just talking about your work. And I want you to show your audience how you leveraged your knowledge, your years of experience, your smarts, your resourcefulness in order to bring that work to life. I know that this can feel scary and it can feel like bragging, but the truth is that selling yourself and what you are able to do in the organization is how you position yourself as a standout candidate for an executive position. So the takeaway from this pivot on storytelling is I want you to think about it as I want the stories that I tell about my work to be even better than the work itself. Okay, the final pivot, this is one that my clients challenge me on quite a bit. And if you have resistance to this pivot, that's totally okay. We'll talk about it. But the final pivot is relationship building. I want you to pivot from focusing on getting your work done to also focusing on relationship building. Here's why. The likelihood of landing an executive role and then succeeding in that executive role is directly impacted by the strength of your relationships with key leaders in your organization. The more people know you, like you, vouch for you, and want to support you, the easier it is for you to be selected when an executive position opens up, and the easier it is for you to succeed in the role, because a big part of succeeding in an executive role is leveraging relationships to get more done. And when people know you and want to support you, it's a lot easier for you to do that. Now, if you take one thing away from this episode, please take away this. I want you to spend 15 to 30 minutes every single week on relationship building activities. This can include making a list of key executive stakeholders within your organization. It can include reaching out to those stakeholders to see if they'd be open to having an informal catch-up with you. It can include doing those informal catch-ups. It is so important that you are going beyond those transactional exchanges where you're talking to these leaders because they're directly involved in a project, to having more of these interpersonal interactions where you are getting to know them and deepening your professional relationship with them. Now, I'll share the resistance that often comes up when I suggest that people do this. And this is normal resistance, so no shame here. This is natural stuff that comes up in the process. But what people usually tell me is, number one, I feel weird setting up time with these leaders. I feel like I'm wasting their time. I feel like they're busy. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be talking about with them in these informal coffee chats that I'm setting up. And if you have that thought, it means you're not yet thinking like an executive. Executives are thinking about long-term relationship building. They're not thinking, do I need something from this stakeholder today? They are thinking, am I going to need something from this stakeholder over the next 6 to 12 months? And this line of thinking causes them to prioritize building and nurturing the relationship now, so that when they have a real need or ask from the stakeholder, it feels natural and organic to make that ask because they've been building a true relationship with them. An executive is also thinking, my job as a leader is to not only do my work, but to balance my work with the priorities of other leaders in the organization. Therefore, I do need to talk to this leader. I have to understand what their priorities are. Otherwise, I can't do my job well. That's the thought process of an executive. And that's why an executive would really want to have an informal chat with a high-level leader, even if there isn't an immediate pressing question that they have for that leader right in that moment. The second challenge that people often have when it comes to spending time on relationship building is they say, Jess, I'm busy. I have so much work to do. I don't have time for relationship building. And what I want to offer is that relationship building saves you time in the long run. It saves you hours of time when a project you're on accelerates forward because one of your executive stakeholders is highly supportive of you and helped you unblock a big barrier. It also saves you years of time when you land that executive promotion sooner because that executive stakeholder vouched for you. So if you're thinking about time effectiveness, don't look only at the 15 to 30 minutes that you're spending every week. Look at the time that you are going to be saving over the long run. And so to recap the 4 pivots that I covered in today's episode. Number 1, pivot from focusing on execution to focusing on leverage. Number 2, demonstrate a healthy amount of fight. And when I say fight, I mean fight for the business, not fight against other people. Number 3, spend time getting really good at storytelling so you can showcase your work powerfully. And number 4, focus on building relationships with key leaders at your company. Now, if you are serious about stepping into executive leadership, this is a pathway that I support my clients with. There are 2 ways that I can help you with this. The first way is through my one-on-one coaching. This is where I help you create a customized plan to land your next executive role. Or if you've recently stepped into an executive role, I help you master the foundations that you need to thrive in your new position. The second way you can work with me is inside of my signature group program, The Art of Speaking Up Academy. Inside of this program, you will build confidence and learn the storytelling skills you need to talk about your work in a way that gets you recognized and shows people that you are ready for an executive role. The work that I do is designed to speed up your path to leadership so that you can unleash the full extent of the potential you have and the impact that you are capable of creating within your organization. To learn more about both of these options, check out the show notes. I will share links to learn more about each of them. And in the meantime, have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.